Here we go. It must be Monday night. We're on for Chewing the Fat. Tonight we're doing something a little bit different. Obviously, we told you all last week we're going to have Langers on, and we are going to talk about basically anything you want to know. So Langers has volunteered his time for a bit of a live Q&A. So get your questions in. Don't forget to put your postcodes in. We've got Corey's Dam fishing shirt and a brag mat for the postcode prize. So make sure you put your postcodes in. Harry will pick one of them later on. And, of course, Harry's wheel later on will, just be what it is, the best question of the night. So make sure you get some really good questions in. I see there's a heap already logged on, and the first question there that is so true. How is quarantine? You'll see there on the screen, it is day number 5. We are back in quarantine, and I am blaming my guest tonight for going back into quarantine because he himself, every time he comes to Victoria gets locked down. We were at the Blue Rock round earlier in the year, and Matty turns up to that one, and we get locked down. And, of course, he's been down the bottom end of the Murray River there filming AFC, and we get locked down again. So we can only blame Langers for that one. We've got a heap on. Good evening to everyone. And, as I said, we'll get Matty on in a minute, and it will be a live Q&A. I do have to give a couple of starting off with some sad news tonight. Member of the Bluefin fishing team and ambassador, Bill Latimer, had a death in the family, so condolences to you, Bill, and all of your family, mate. Sorry to hear the bad news. On a positive note, we are going to talk all things fishing. Obviously, we'll be limited with the AFC questions that we can answer tonight. Obviously, it goes to air next year, so Matty can talk about the general sort of stuff, but cannot say that anything to do with results and anything like that. So don't bother asking because he's going to be pretty tight-lipped. I know last year I spent 6 months trying to get the answer out of him and he still wouldn't tell me I had to wait until it come on air. So that's just the way that goes. If you haven't liked the Bluefin Fishing Team page, get over there and give it a like on Facebook. We've got some really cool content coming out on that in the next couple of weeks. We were able to get Lane Furling from Mad Lane Media that did Matty's Oz Open videos last year. We were able to get him down to my whaler, and he's doing some cracking editing at the moment. I can't wait to release it. I've seen some of it, and it's looking really, really good. That will all be released through the Bluefin Fishing Team page. We've got a heap of content going out from that. So that's all my shout-outs. Let's get the guy on, and we'll get some live questions. I've got a question that I'm going to ask him, and then we'll get you guys into your stuff. Yes, Harry is homeschooled at the moment, so Harry's able to stay up and watch it all tonight. That's the way it goes. Yes, that's my reel boxes. Love my ATC reels. So here we go. Let's just go through and see if there's anything really quickly I need to cover from the comments before I get Langers on. I've got a heap of people on. That's really cool. Yep, that's all good. So I've just seen him duck out of the background. I'll just make sure that I'll bring him on, and he is. Yeah, there he is. So he's just come back into screen. G'day, Matty. How you going, mate?
Good. Yourself? How's things?
Yeah, no, I'm very good. It's very. I suppose this whole show started because of lockdown last year, and I sort of thought season 2. We're getting into this is episode 15. I thought we're all through it, and we've been locked down again, but it is for a good cause, and. It is supposed to only be a 7-day lockdown, but they did have 11 more cases today, so we may be in for another 7 days. So for all my Victorian brotherhood, I'd just like to say, hang in there, guys. We'll get out of it eventually and get to chase some of those fish that I seen you posting up while we were in the end. It was starting lockdown. You were posting up some crackers from down that end of the Murray River, weren't you?
Yeah, I feel sorry for a lot of those guys in Victoria. Yeah, we've had it lucky up here, and luckily where we were didn't lock or close us in or anything. So it seems every time we go down that way, something happens to Victorian Lockdown. So I apologise.
No, but officially you guys are in New South Wales anyway. So even if Victoria did get locked down, you probably still could have gone on with your fishing. But you'd actually you were on the last day of filming anyway when the announcement came out. Is that how it worked? Yep.
Yeah, it was an evolving situation down there the whole time, so we kept close tabs on that. But it just kind of worked out that we had everything finished up by the time. By the time we were set to leave, like we kind of rushed out or rushed home. I think me and Mick, every time we go down there earlier, I think it was last year when the original lockdown happened, me and Mick were at St Clair. And then me and Mick went to Blue Rock, and the same thing happened. We had to get out of there during the event or just before the event started. And then same with this one down at Mildura. But, that's just how it goes.
So we have to blame both of you two, Mick Johnson and yourself, because when you guys get together, you cause mayhem by the looks of it. We've got a couple of questions coming. Anything you want to cover off before we go into the questions, Matty? Anything new coming up, or you got new on at the moment? I see you've done some cool stuff lately.
So if I guess we haven't really made it public, but we were down at Mildura filming for a new series coming up later this year. Me and Mitch Cohn back together again, which is awesome. It's going to be a pretty interesting watch. It's going to be very good. But the Murray River system was just unbelievable. Some of the cod that we caught. I know myself. We've only ever dreamed to go down and fish there, and we got a real taste of what the Murray River can produce. And it wasn't just one species. There was heaps of species, and we had an absolute blast and saw the potential of the river. It was just ridiculous and something we'll never forget anyway. But the cool thing is it'll all be on TV in the coming months, and it'll definitely open some eyes, that's for sure.
Yeah, and you did it quite well in the sense that it could be what you've just done, you could do as a holiday destination as well. I know, Mildura's done it really, really tough through the whole COVID thing because they've been locked down for 13 months and haven't had a single case of COVID in that time within, 300 or 400 kilometres of the. So they've been putting up with Victorian rule in the sense, and they've been pretty hard done by. So tourism, when it does open up, what you guys have done was magic. I think it was one or two houseboats you got.
Yeah, we had basically had two houseboats from Mildura. It was amazing.
So for anyone that's going to Mildura as a holiday destination, they can hire a houseboat like you've just done, hook their boat on the back, tie it on the back, and go up and spend, as long as they really want to hire that thing for. It's like a motel on wheels, on water. Yeah,
I highly recommend it. We basically just parked the houseboats and docked our boats on the houseboat and went out fishing every day. We didn't have to take boats in and out or anything like that. And they were decked out. They had, we had a spa up the top deck, a bar, full washing machine, dishwasher, all that sort of stuff. And 3 bedrooms, two queen beds and one bedroom with single bed, 2 single beds. They had all the facilities, had toilets and en suites and all that sort of stuff. It was crazy. But if you ever down that way at Mildura, I'll definitely highly recommend that because it just made the experience so much easier. And it was for us to do that and for people to see down the track, you'll see exactly what I mean. It was insane.
Yeah, Mitch even, I seen, I think it was on Instagram, Mitch even caught a cod off the houseboat late at night, with a bit of bait. So that was, it's a pretty cool sort of area down there, isn't it?
Yeah, it was amazing. We actually, we were Oh, I've got to bring that up. Mick just hashtagged something I've got to let everyone know about too. But we were pre-fishing, and then pulled off the water one midday, and we had some chicken necks that we were going to try and catch a cod with. And I think we caught that cod, I think it was about 2:00 in the afternoon.
Yeah.
And literally the first chicken neck we threw out was like probably an hour soaking and caught a 70-centimetre cod. It was wicked.
It was wicked. All right. Well, we better get into these questions. We said it was going to be a live Q&A, so I'll scroll back through them. You go on to what you wanted to cover. Yeah.
Yeah. Before we start, I'm going to give so for the two, I'll choose two questions and make them. I know there's going to be some roasting questions out there as well, but just for my two favourite questions. I'm going to send those two people a Garmin cap and some stickers as a little kit. So I've got two sets for the two best questions of the night. I'll choose them at the end.
So that's awesome. Thank you for that, Matt. So that'll give us 4 tonight. So make sure you get your questions in. So there'll be the postcode question, which is a fishing shirt and brag, Matt. Harry's wheel with the random prizes, and Matty's going to pick 2 questions himself for Garmin hat and your sticker board. That's really cool.
Yep.
I was going to preempt and throw a question in to get people on asking, but they're already asking. So I'll go back up towards the start, do a couple of nice, easy ones for you. Neil wants to know, are you able to get to Kenya?
Yeah. So we're able to make it, which is good. So the lucky thing was we were right on the border. So the Murray River is New South Wales. So yeah, we were lucky we got out, and we had a few issues on the way home. I don't actually have my boat with me, but Mitch Cone and Timmy Oakley and the boys down in Narrabri are going to get it back on the road, and Casso is going to tow it to Kenya, which would be great. So I'll be reunited with my boat and hopefully get it all kitted out ready for pre-fish on Friday.
Now, most people will know you do have 2 children already, but I would class that boat as your 3rd child. How have you gone not having it in the garage for the week?
It hasn't been too bad because I know Mitch will be looking after it like it's his. So he's been keeping me informed. He rings me a couple of times a day and just tells me it's all good. He gave it a rub down and everything, puts it to bed every night. So
I don't want to know what happened in the house,
mate. Oh yeah, some funny things happen on there. But no, he's looking after it. He's got it all sorted. So it should be good.
Awesome. That's well done to the boys there. They're a great bunch of guys. So obviously, the fishing community does kick together every now and again and help you out. And they're down there doing all the work for you. That's awesome. Shane Melrose wants to know if do the lockdown fish fight harder than the non-lockdown fish?
I think for you guys down there, it'll be sweet to catch that first fish after lockdown. But yeah, I'm sure you'll be keen. Hopefully, you don't stay in lockdown for too long so you can find out.
Yeah, look, everyone knows that I love my fishing, and I'm a bit of a fishing tragic. And as soon as the lockdown was announced, it really, really hurt me, probably more than anyone, because I got my active target, the Lowrance version of what you use with your Garmin. I got that and just finished installing it on the day before lockdown happened. So I've got to sit here waiting to get my boat actually on the water and actually see how it goes. So, it's just what happens. Timmy wants to know who teaches Harry. That is definitely Nikki, mate. So it's not me. Harry actually picked up. It was quite funny. We were sitting there tonight, and Harry said, "You got a spelling mistake on your scroll." So on the bottom of the scroll, where it scrolls through and has done for the last 12 months, there was actually a spelling mistake that Harry picked up. Nobody that's watched out of the thousands upon thousands of people that have watched the show in the last 12 months has picked up there was a spelling error. I have corrected it, so you just won't know what it was. I'm sure Harry will get on it. Matt is the COVID jinx. Nick reckons you're the COVID jinx. All right. Guess to stop COVID. Fish On's got a great one. What were the river levels like when you were fishing? Have noticed it's low at the moment.
Yeah, so whilst we were there, we took a pretty big notice of the river levels, and when we got there, the water was flowing quite well, and the river was at its peak, I guess, or where it normally stays. But the flow was definitely there. We talked one of the great guys down there that helped with the event and helped get us sorted and that sort of stuff was a guy from Ozfish, Braden Lampard. He sort of let us know what they were doing with the water levels, and apparently in the next couple of months or the next month, they're actually going to drop the river, and this is what he told us, so I don't know if it's true or not, but they're actually dropping the water level because they're working on the lock or the weir at Mildura, and the lock that we were in, they're going to drop at 4 meters. So that's a massive drop in that river. So that means that all the snags that we would have fished will be out of the water. But yeah, so that's what he told us, and I think they're definitely slowing the flow down and probably going to drop that lock pretty heavily over the next month.
Did he say anything about the water that's coming down? Obviously, Menindi's filled up. The water's coming down the Darling for the first time in years. And I'm not 100% sure where that sort of comes into the system. Do you reckon they might be also dropping it further than what they normally would do to cater for that?
Possibly. Yeah, possibly. It's from what I hear and from what we were told when we were there that, the system's doing really well because, like you said, the Menindi lakes are filling. They're getting a good flow up the Darling, or down the Darling, I should say. Myself and Mitch, we went up the Darling probably about 10 or 15 kilometres, and the fish and the bait in particular in the Darling, I've never seen anything like it in fresh water. There was so much bait up there. It was incredible. So, yeah, it's good to see the system doing really well, but it may have something to do with that. But it was in the newspapers up there that they were going to fix the weir there at Mildura. So I'd say that was that's going to be the big deal for the drop in the next month.
Yep. Now, did you this next question, Scotty wants to know, did you find your metery with your Livescope? The first one, we were lucky. I think we got 3 or 4 over the meter, but the first one wasn't. It was just blind casting. But when it comes to Murray cod, we had to, because I use it for bass all the time, I had to learn to use it to find cod. But fishing those 4 days, by the end, I wasn't even casting. There was a lot of time that we were just seeing the snag and just peppering the snag. But then at the very end, there was a lot of time we were just looking for fish. So to answer the question, though, the meter 13 that I caught, we were actually targeting Yellowbelly. We were trying to figure out how to catch some yellows. And we figured out how to catch yellows. But as we were doing that, I noticed this big snag sticking up in the water, and there was this massive big blob on the snag. And I looked at it for a little bit, and then I saw the blob move, and I thought to myself, that's a cod. And no word of a lie, I picked up the rod and cast a spinnerbait at it, let it sink, and literally did 2 winds and, got a meter 13. So I saw that and I could cast to it. Mitch's 98, same thing, spotted on Livescope. Mitch had, I think, 3 casts at it and caught him. And there was another one. There was another one that I was bringing the spinnerbait out of the snag, and I saw the fish come out at it, had a crack at it. So I was able to stop the spinnerbait, and the fish turned around and come back and ate it. So it was crazy. That Garmin Livescope is just next level. And I mean, there's
technology out there, you can do that now, and you may as well utilize it. People have got to learn it, of course, but like I was saying, it was awesome.
Why not? Let's go down a little bit further. Aaron wants to know if you need a course in trailer mechanical and maintenance. I know Aaron's a boy from in the area where your boat's getting fixed. I think that might be a bit of a stitch up.
Yeah. I think Mitch has got that covered, but Mitch would be asking about whether Aaron's caps fit him or not. I don't know if I'll be able to give him one of these and not fit him.
Yeah, that's it. Using the live site in the Murray, did you see many big cod cruising around, or mostly held up in the snags from Aaron?
That is a good question, because I you'd think being able to see under the water like you can now with the technology we've got, you'd think that they'd be everywhere, but they're actually not. They're not. You don't see hundreds and hundreds of cod every day. I think most days, on a good day, you were probably seeing maybe a dozen or so. A lot of the time, those big fish are sitting still, but the ones cruising, definitely you can see them swimming around. And we definitely noticed in the pre-fish, the fish were positioned differently. They were in prime attack mode. They were sitting up in their snags ready to eat. Those ones we could see. But yeah, we saw most days we were probably seeing a dozen or so cod, and some cod we saw were huge. They were massive. But then also we saw a lot of smaller cod. And the cool little thing is with Livescope, you can see a cod is different to a yellow. Like a yellow is a pretty solid fish, and you can see his full tail and everything. With a cod, they have this massive big body on Livescope, but they've got this little tiny motor on the back, or their tail, I should say, and you just see this little tail just moving behind this big blob. So they usually gave it away that was a cod. But yeah, you see a meter cod on Livescope, you know straight away exactly what it is.
Exactly what it is, yeah. So Mick wants to know what hashtag car spa.
Carp spa.
Carp spa.
So like I said, we had a spa on the houseboat. This particular day we finished pre-fishing about lunchtime. Myself and Mitch, it was raining as well, so me and Mitch just got in the spa, just chilling out. Apparently that's what bass anglers do. Someone made that rule up, but yeah, we were up in the spa having a beer and a chat, and we had a cod line in and we had a carp line in, and Mick had come back from pre-fishing and the carp rod went off, so he got it off, and instead of letting it go, he thought he'd bring it up, and he actually let it go on the spa briefly.
Who got out of the spa quicker?
Oh no, we swam around in there for a little. We weren't naked. But
I'll get the more of them later. All right, we'll get off that. Ryan wants to know: did you find the fishing tough there at the moment, or was it fishing quite well?
Yeah, every single day was different. The first day we were there, we didn't fish particularly hard at all. We maybe fished, on any given day, you could fish 200 snags to 500 snags if you really wanted to. But the pre-fish day, we fished maybe 20 to 30 snags, and we caught 3. Yeah. The next day, we literally probably fished 10 snags and caught that 113. But yeah, it was different every day, and it changed every day. Then we had some tough days as well. So yeah, like I said, every single day you've got to watch your sonar, and you've got to watch your technology, because you'll learn what they're doing on that day. And it's the same with cod fishing. It's the same with bass fishing. You've got to you've got to pick up what they're doing, and if you can pick it up quick enough, you'll learn quickly how to catch them, or you'll learn quickly that maybe you won't catch a fish today. And even if you have the best technology in the world, you still can't make the fish bite.
Yeah, for sure. And going back on that too, for the people that are all around the moon phases, you guys are just there just before the blood moon, the eclipse moon. So whether that made difference leading up to, who knows, but you were there around for Ryan. He was there, just before a full moon. So that might help some people.
My dad always said fish the run up to the full.
Yeah. Let's go. I'm just looking through for Jeff wants to know, Matt, for cod, what are your 2 favourite baits and 2 favourite lures?
For Murray cod, I've grown up in the rivers, and the spinnerbait is number 1. In particular, the Bassman or the Codman DT, the twin spin, double or single Colorados on each arm, just throws out a heap of vibration, and that's I think we caught every single one of our cod on that, on the Murray. But chartreuse was a big standout there, so real bright. And when I fished the Boulogne years ago, red and black was my go-to. It was either red and black, Codman DT, Bassman spinnerbait, or purple was another good one. But yeah, on the Murray, it was definitely the chartreuse one seems to have stood out the most. But that's my first go-to, and then again, it's probably the Bassman mumbler. Yeah, there's so many different types as well. But I'll, if I was to pick a second one, it'd be a tie between a mumbler or a purple stump jumper.
Yeah,
that'd be my 2.
For sure, and I know that, 100%. When you come down and fish the nationals with me, I know that you've got those tied on straight away. So that's 100%. Grant,
if I get a bite, it'll be one of them.
Yeah, Grant's got a fairly long question. So without giving too much away, he said, "Are you able to tell us if there was a distinct pattern for the fish? Were they following it to the boat? Was it a slow, fast retrieve, heavy, big timber, spindly timber, any sort of pattern at all, or were they all different?"
One thing we picked up really quickly was the fish were really the ones that we caught were positioned to feed. So they were either moving around in there. Obviously, we used the Livescope to find the snag, but if we found that there was a cod in that snag and he was moving up high, so he was sitting above or just on a stick that was, we might have been in 20 or 30 feet, but if he was only 6 foot under the surface on his snag, we nearly could guarantee that he was going to eat the lure, because he was sitting up in the snag. There was a bit of current, and he was in an ambush position ready to feed. We found those fish that were low in the snag or down on the bottom. They were really hard to get to bite, and you only had to put a spinnerbait in front of them, and you could see how they react, and you can tell instantly whether that fish is going to feed or not, because they're amped and aggressive, and they'll come straight out at that lure straight away. But I mean, if you don't have that technology, you're best off just using your eyes, looking at the structure you can visibly see, and just throw whatever you're using in, let it sink for a couple of seconds, and fish high in that snag. But no, we just found that just a steady retrieve in front of the fish, put it in his face, and they usually eat it pretty well straight away. I don't think you need to put. You don't need to sit on a snag and bash it to death. I think if you put maybe maximum of a dozen casts at different angles on a snag, that's enough to tell you if there's a fish there or not, and just move on to the next one.
Yeah, that's great. Good. Warren wants to know, Warren's from up Queensland way as well. He wants to know, is the cold worth the cod?
Absolutely.
Absolutely. All right.
Just put heaps of warm clothes on.
Good. G'day, Matt. What's your favourite rod and your favourite lure and line do you have, Livescope? I think we've covered the lure, so rod and line, what are you using for the cod, mate?
I use Yamato 30-pound resin sheller, and that's the line. So that's the braid, 30-pound Yamato resin sheller. Leader, I'd go 60-pound, but the more I talk to the cod gurus like Rod McKenzie and that, they don't use anything smaller than 80. So, those guys use 100 plus sometimes, because you just imagine you get the fish of a lifetime on and he chews you through on 60-pound. You'll never forget it. So I'd go minimum 80-pound, and that's what we did down on the Murray. As far as rods go, I want to mention a couple, but probably the Beast Freak, Miller Rod's Beast Freak, just does it. It's a great rod.
Look, Rod's a great guest on the show. We've had him on a couple of times, and we'll get him on again this year. But it's easy for him to say use 80 or above, because he does catch all those freaking giants. For most of it to catch 50-centimetre cod, it's a bit of an overkill. But you're right. You lose that one fish. Is it all worth it? Timmy wants to know if your boat's not ready, do you want to borrow his?
Oh, the Saratoga, absolutely. It's got good mojo.
It's got good
100%.
mojo. 100%. There you go. That's awesome. I'd love to see it win. Yeah, especially at Kenya. Two comps in a row. That'd be awesome to see. Luke, we've got a bass question for you. Luke wants to know, hey, Matty, do you have a favourite lure for bass that you use when the bass aren't on the bite? So when it's a bit tough, is there something that you just go to and say, I'm going to throw this?
Probably there's a whole bunch that stand out, but probably the most versatile. You can fish it in. I nearly won a grand final at Mildura a few years ago, but I won't talk about that. But a Norris Wasabi spoon, you can fish it everywhere. You can fish it in 100 feet. You can fish it in 2 foot. Mildura a few years ago, I fished it across the top of weed. I had it rigged differently to get through that weed, and I, placed really well in that comp. I was leading to the last day. You can fish it in 30 feet. Like I said, on the bottom, slowly. You can fish it fast, higher in the water column in the thermocline. And it looks like a bony. It's just a small profile, 40 mil long, and it catches bass everywhere. I've caught bass in Sinclair and Glenbourne on it. And, if you're a Queensland bass angler and you don't have a Norris Wasabi spoon in your box, you're doing yourself a misservice. You need to get some, because you can fish them everywhere. Anywhere there's bonies or bait fish, it's probably the most versatile lure out there.
Yeah, there you go, Luke. There's that one. I'll get this one out of the way. Well, Alion asked lots of questions, so I'll get this one up. First-time non-boater, what should I expect for the briefing, sign-in, lunch, weigh-ins? Any tips for him? He's a young fella going to his first ever comp, never done it before.
I guess go into it, obviously, number one, thinking of your boater in mind too. So, things like making sure your feet are clean before you get in the boat. Ask if they need help launching the boat. Whatever you can do to help them get their boat in the water and transition to the start line, or getting the boat out after it, it will be a massive help. But be polite, listen and watch what the pro's doing. Depending on who they are, some pros don't like you asking millions of questions, especially if they're concentrating trying to catch their fish. But you'll quickly find that when pros catch their fish, they'll be more relaxed and they'll talk to you about it. Definitely offer them something for the day out. When I was a co-angler, I always offered $20 for fuel. Even if you offer, most of the guys won't take that, but they'll be just really rapt that you thought of them. And it's a big commitment to have a bass boat and that sort of stuff. So offer that, but just go into it with an open mind. Don't cast it in front of their shoulder. Being the shared weight system that ABT is, ask them what you can do to fish as a team, and just try and be helpful and try and do your best as a team if you can.
Yep.
That's probably my best advice.
And I would think too, make sure that you tell your boaters, because you'll find out who your boaters are and you'll have a little chat to them at briefing. Tell them it is your first comp, so they do know, so they're not expecting more than, they might be expecting a seasoned co-boater if you don't tell them. So tell them that it's your first comp. What do you want me to do? And I'll generally give you the drum. All right, I have to give away the Corey's Dam fishing shirt. So it is a full-on shirt. I've got a few sizes there, so the winner will be able to choose what's closest to them. I've got every size there. And as I said, the brag mat as well. Harry picks them out at random, and this one is going to Tony Bundy 2819. So Tony, if you can send me a message to Corey's Dam Fishing Facebook page with your address, and I will communicate with you to try and work out which shirt's going to work the best. All right, Kyle wants to know what's your biggest fishing stuff up over the years?
Oh, the biggest fishing stuff up I can think of. There's been a few, but the most memorable was my first trip to Lake Awonga, and it was with my best mate Sam Lucas. We had a 10-foot punt, flat bottom punt with a 4 horsepower motor on it. I'll just leave this here. Thanks for that. That's one of them too. Thanks for that, Captain. And we'd get there at 3 o'clock in the morning to get to our spot. Anywhere that would take 5 minutes now used to take us 2 hours to get there. We fished for 7 days. We caught 1 60-centimetre barra. And then one day I said to Sam, we know where the big fish were. They gave away their location this one day. We parked up, fished this particular point for probably 5 hours, and about 9 o'clock I got the bite I was waiting for. And it was back in Awonga's heyday. Guys used to smash hundreds of them, but we had no idea. And we caught this one fish, and it was probably 1 metre 10, metre 20, 30 kilos. It was huge. And we were undergun. We had a small net. Sam was quite a big lad at the time. But we wore the barra out, got it to the net. And as a fishing story goes, the leader let go right as the fish was on the net. Sam lunged for it. The fish took off and he lunged for it again. And we took about a foot of water over one side. We recorrected the boat another foot over the other side, and the boat flipped, and none of the gear was ours. It was all Dad's. We lost a rod. We lost hundreds of dollars worth of tackle. It was just a massive, massive stuff up. And we lost the fish. And then all I ended up out of it was a classic lure in my crutch. So I had to take my pants off, got out of the water with no pants on. So there you go. That's probably the biggest stuff up.
That I have heard that story on several occasions, so I believe it to be 100% true, because I have heard it from the other side, Sam telling the same story exactly the same way. So that's a good one. All right. Mark wants to know, hey, Matt, do you think you would have caught the size of the cod you caught without the Garmin Livescope in the time that you had available?
No.
Just straight up, no. That's an easy answer.
The simple thing is, like where we caught those cod, you couldn't see the snag. The snag was submerged, so you couldn't see it with your eyes. A lot of guys use poles and stuff. I have my transducer on my electric, and I use my foot to scan, and I'm scanning 180 degrees, moving it back and forth. And the meter 13 was in the close to the middle of the river, sitting on a snag that I would never have seen. And I just cast straight to it with one cast. Coney's fish was the same. There was a few fish like that. So, unless I did a Hail Mary, I may have caught that big one. But, definitely that meter 13 in particular. If I didn't have the Livescope, I would never have caught it.
Yeah, look, and it is technology that is available to everyone, and the more it goes out, like anything, you still got to learn to use it, though, don't you? As you said, you've been using it for bass. You're used to that. You get down into cod territory. The barra guys are the same. I know some barra guys that are putting it on the back of the boat because obviously they spot lock off points. They stand on the back of the boat, so their Livescope's down the back of the boat. So, each to their own. I think there's a great opportunity for the trollers. So for us down here in this sort of area, the guys that love to troll for trout and species like that, where you're doing a lot of trolling, having facing backwards, you'll be able to see the depth of the lure, see it where it's swimming, seeing how many fish are coming up and checking it out. It will be amazing for the trollers as well. No, not a lot of people are thinking about that. My brother, who is a bait fisherman, we've talked about this, that, we used to, on the old finders, find out what depth the fish was sitting at, and then you let your bait down 1 foot increment, so you had the bait in the time. You'll be able to do that really easy with Livescope pointing downwards, or active target, or whatever you want to call it. So, there's going to be some more uses for that technology than just tournament fishing for sure. All right.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's see. Any questions, Langers? Do you? Keegan wants to know, do you take your hat off to gain extra aerodynamic speed in the boat?
Absolutely.
What is it, 30-60?
Slides right through it.
30-60?
That's why I don't have hair. It's too
20-50.
Joey Allen calls me 1970.
Yeah.
19 with my hat on, 70 with it off.
Jordan wants to know, did you regret ever showing Tim Steines around Kenya for the week leading up to the Queensland Open?
No, not at all. No, I thought that was pretty cool, because the funny thing was about that, the technique was reasonably similar. It changed a little bit, but what we found in the pre-fish was totally different to where Timmy actually fished and won it. We fished similar areas, but I think I had the capability to move around a lot more than Timmy did, and I think Timmy did it perfectly, because he just muscled it out in the spot that he had, and it was literally, if Timmy burnt more than a litre of fuel in that whole comp, I reckon he wouldn't have burnt more than that of main motor fuel, because he just hunkered down and he fished and used his electric motor and he caught him and he won well. But no, I don't regret that at all. I think that's wicked.
No, it was awesome to see. There's been a few questions about the yellers down there. Did you get a few yellers? Like, obviously everyone wants to know about the cod. It's like when we fished the Native Classic at Mulwala a month or so ago. Everyone said, "Oh, how are you going to catch yellers in Mulwala, because it's known for such a cod fishery?" But we found the yellers easier to catch than the cod. So it is quite a good Yellowbelly fishery. How did you find it down there?
We caught way more yellers than we did cod. Yeah. We caught heaps. Your advice for the yellers at Mulwala worked exactly the same in the Murray. So as you're cruising down the Murray, you see every now and again you'll see patches of willows, and every single patch of willows has Yellowbelly all around it. Every single one. So the two ways that we caught them, we tried black gulps on a light jig head. We caught a couple on that, but the black ZX40 blade, with obviously having Livescope, it was easy to spot them. But the Yellowbelly, and that's the thing, Livescope shows you different things to what you actually think that's happening. Like, I used to think in wintertime the yellers were on the bottom, and in summertime they were suspended. Down in the Murray, that's not the case at all. The yellers were we might have been in 20 foot near willow trees, and the yellows were no more than 6 foot under the surface. And, utilizing the Livescope, we just put a black, in the end, we'd put a black ZX on, and you could get over the top of them, drop the ZX in front of their nose and, jig it once or twice. And as soon as you saw that Yellowbelly, you'd see him arc up and he'd start moving around that ZX. As soon as you saw him do that, he was going to eat that blade. But then you drop the ZX on the yellows that were inactive, and they were like big slugs. Like they'd sort of nose up to it, look at it, and then they'd just sort of move away from it slowly. If you didn't see them fire up and move around really quickly, they weren't going to eat that blade. But yeah, the ZX blade, black Dark Knight, black ZX 40 was the go. The other really prominent spots we found them too were in back eddies. So in the Murray, we found there was a lot of rock bars, and anywhere you had the water swirling backwards in a deep hole, same thing. If there was bait there, we'd be in open water, 30 feet, and see yellows suspended in 4 foot under the boat in 30 feet of water in the middle of the river. And same deal, you'd go up to each one of them and jig the ZX on his nose, and as soon as you saw him move, you're like, righto, we're going to catch this one.
Yeah.
So we got 20 or 30 yellows. The biggest was I think a 50 centimetre. Mick caught a 53 centimetre. So there's some cracking yellows in that river, and a lot between 40 and 50. Some really good yellowbelly.
Yeah,
and a good amount of silver perch too, which was surprising.
Oh, your silver's good. That's good to hear. So, Neil wants to know: are you looking forward to catching bass at Kenya after your cod trip?
It's funny, you have an epic trip like that, but I can't get enough fishing no matter what it is. So I can't wait for Kenya. Kenya's been really good to me over the years. I can't wait. I'm really looking forward to it. Yeah, I can't wait for Kenya.
It is a different beast, though.
Even though they're not cod, they're still fish. I love it.
Gary wants to know what's your best retrieve on the wasabi spoons when it's tough. What are you hopping them, twitching them, shaking them? I'm
interested to know how Gary knows my favourite colour is orange. Bit of inside intel there. I never said anything about orange wasabi spoons. That's good. But my favourite colour is orange. Red and orange. If you can get red and orange, that's like the best colour there is. I can't find them anymore, but that's my favourite colour. He's had inside intel. Now everyone knows. But the best retrieve is this is going to sound funny, but the best retrieve to catch inactive fish is the retrieve that catches them. You've got to be willing to try different things. Some days they want it dead slow on the bottom, almost fishing it like a jig. Then I've had heaps of other days where I can't get a bite, and I've got to burn it like a tuna retrieve, like burning it as fast as you can. The best session I ever had was with it was on a guided trip at Somerset, and we were at the Bay 13 throwing wasabis, and you'd throw the wasabi out. If you wound it a standard wind or a slow wind, they wouldn't touch it. But the only way they would eat it, we had to stimulate the bite, and that was to burn it as fast as you physically could. And these were, I think that session, we hadn't caught a fish until 1 p.m. And then by 4 o'clock, he caught a dozen over 50. And you had to burn it as fast as you could. And, when a 50 centimetre bass eats a spoon going flat out, going the other direction, it's pretty awesome. But, yeah, you've got to mix your retrieves up and just see what they want on the day. So be willing to be versatile and change.
Yep, for sure. All right, Nikki wants to know, so did you find the ones ready to bite? I can't read that. Hang on. So did you find out the ones that were ready to bite, ones in the snag rather than the active ones, or were you finding active ones in the snags as well?
Yeah, so there was a couple of different types that we found. There was the ones that were just slowly moving along the bottom. Those guys, we couldn't get them to eat, so you could see them just lurching slowly along the bottom. They weren't really interested. We also found that there was fish that were moving through the snag. Those guys, it was a bit hit and miss with them. Sometimes you could get them to follow it, but it was the ones that were high, really high in the snag, that were sitting almost above the snag and close to the surface. Those guys were the ones, they were like 90%ers. If you put it in the right spot, they were the ones that were going to eat. So, yeah, me and Mitch kind of figured that out, that the higher they were and sitting up on a snag, sort of sitting in the current where they could get an easy ambush spot on a passing school of fish. And that's one thing we noticed too. All the bait fish were sitting up high and just below the surface, so they had easy access. I think they were just in ambush position, and every single one that we saw like that, we put a spinnerbait to that ate it. So yeah, it was the ones high. I call them perched. They were perched, ready to eat on their snag.
There you go, clever use. I'm just going to give the call to Harry to come out and get set up on the wheel, because we'll spin the wheel soon. We'll still do your two prizes after the wheel, so everyone's there. There was Dave did want to. Now I do have to say, Dave has done this prop up, and I want to give you a chance of reply, because obviously this was all done from Dave's end, and you've got to be able to have your right of reply. This is the as we've called it, the Matthew Langford annual fuck up award, which we're giving away at the end of the year. But have you got anything in your defence about the circumstances of how this prop ended up the way that it did? This one here?
No, it was just a thank you to Dave for letting me borrow his boat. Thanks, Dave.
So I will go into bat for you a little bit, Matty, that the fact was that we'd been down the back of Blue Rock, got the call, and you guys had to get out of Victoria within hours, and we had to still go back, pack up the thing. You've not your boat, somebody else's boat. You've driven the boat up onto the trailer and just tinked it. But I heard you at least 5 or 6 times offer to pay for the prop. But Dave just wants to make sure that you just remember it more than anything else.
Yeah. No, it was purely an accident. Yeah, we were in a bit of a hurry. I had the motor trimmed down at Blue Rock, and we were in a bit of a hurry to get off the water, and it was just purely an accident. And I did offer a million times to pay for it, and I'm glad he took that up, because now that's actually mine, because I paid for that. I want it.
All right, so we're going to do Harry's wheel, and this week it will be Warren Jones. So Warren, if you've watched the show before, I'm pretty sure you're on nearly every week. You have to make basically in the comments. You've got 2 minutes to write in the comments to ask Harry to spin the wheel for you. So let's scoot down the bottom and see if Warren's still on here. Make sure that we got any more questions coming in. We'll go to a quick question here. Shane wants to know, in the Queensland Bass comps, can you launch the bass into the boat, or do they need to be in a net? So obviously, can you pole them in?
Oh, can you pole them in? I was wondering what he means, launch them in. But, yeah, you can. I guess you can. When I fish a jig, I'm fishing heavy, and I'm not worried about that line snapping. And in particularly the rivers, you just want to get them out of the water and in boats. So flip. Water, then, yeah, you want to be netting them most of the time, yep.
All right, so Warren said, yep, spin the wheel, Harry. All right, so Matty, I'll give you a chance to go and get a drink or go to the loo or whatever. I'll put you in the green room. I'll bring Harry up. We'll spin the wheel. We'll do that, and we'll come back to you.
Yep, cool.
G'day there, young Harrison. How you going? Oh, hang on. I've got to unmute you. We'll do that.
Hi.
Oh, there we go. Much better. All right. So you're in lockdown. The boys, you've been in there commenting on everything. You've picked up my spelling mistakes and whatnot. You have Warren on at the moment, waiting to see what you're going to spin up. So let's win Warren a prize, mate. You've got the big wheel to spin.
Okay. I think I should give it a spin. And we got tonic.
Tonic. All right. So there is a tonic shirt there that you have, a tonic fishing shirt that you have won. It might not be on the stand there, Harry, but that's all right. I might have forgotten to put it out. So there is. There it is, a brand new tonic fishing shirt for you there, Warren. What you need to do is send me through a personal message to Corey's Dam Fishing with your address, and I will post that shirt up to you. We only have the one size in that one, so it's one size takes all. So, hey, Harry, there's been a few comments tonight. They want to know if you come on somebody wanted to know if you come on as a guest host again. They thought you did well last time, and keep up the good work. So I'll let you go for now, so you can go and get into bed, and we'll bring Maddie on. But thanks again.
Okay. Bye bye.
All right, there it is. I think he just broke something again. I tend to not like the little dicky knee when he pops his head up at the very start. I'm kind of a bit worried about one day he's going to pop up and do something. All right, let's go. Awesome, thanks for that. Let's go in and find some more questions. Did you see any that I might have missed there, Maddie, that you wanted to bring up or talk about? There's one here.
I like Coney's question.
Do you think it'll take it? The boat will make it to Kenya, or make it to Kenya?
I hope so, because he's the mechanic.
Elliot wants to know, which is a really good question. Do you think there will be a jig bite all over the Kenya around this year? Do you think it's going to be a jig bite, or back to a old-fashioned sort of jerk bait bite?
No, I don't. I think people will catch them on a jig. Yeah, you could, because you can catch bass on a jig any time of year. But I don't think it'll be one on a jig. But you never know; it could be. So, yeah, it's traditionally. I don't think it'll be one on a jig, but something, you know, there's not that much weed there this year. The dam's been dropping. The conditions aren't quite right, so you never know. This is going to be an interesting round. I'll have a jig tied on because I always do, but Kenya is a junk fisherman's paradise, and that's why I love Kenya so much, because I can throw anything that I want wherever I want. You just fish what's in front of you. You might do 10 casts with one lure and then 10 casts with another lure, and then depending on where you are, you throw. You can throw 15 lures in a day.
It's funny you say that.
Yeah,
I noticed that. Yeah, with you, you might come. Well, I mean, obviously, being sponsored by who you're sponsored by, you've got a fair range of gear. But normally at, say, a dam like Glenbourne or whatever, you might have 5 or 6 rods on the deck. You come back from Kenya and you've got every rod on the deck lying everywhere, don't you?
Yeah. The one that I won there a couple of years ago, I think I caught, I can't remember. I think it was six fish bag limit, and I think I caught one fish on 6 different lures to weigh those 6 fish in. So it just all depends on what's presented in front of you at the time. And yeah, historically I've finished well, and and that's just why, I guess, because I'm comfortable doing that. Like Ellie always says, fish what's in front of you and fish the moment. And I guess it suits at Kenya. That's just how you fish.
Yeah. All right. Here's another great question. Bo wants to know, Matty, is there anything a non-boater has reached or shown you something that has blown your mind, and what was it?
Nothing that really stands out, but like I learn every time, and I love fishing with different co-anglers because I'll watch them, like I'll keep an eye on them, and sometimes you notice little subtle things. But being a guide, I'm always watching the way that they cast, the way that they're retrieving, things like that, and I pick that stuff up really quickly. Even with anglers around me, I'll pick it up real fast. But one thing in particular was it was a Richmond River round. I'm just trying to think of his name at the moment. I'm lost at the moment. He fished really well. He's from Bundy. It'll come to me soon. But one thing I didn't really, or I guess I took for granted, was lure color selection. I was fishing a white spinnerbait on the Saturday. I absolutely brained the bass. And on the Sunday, I said to my co-ed, I said, do you want to chuck a spinnerbait on and we'll just go spinnerbait and we'll catch them? Anyway, I had probably a dozen bites and no fish landed. And he had 7 fish in the boat before I even caught one. And the only thing he was doing differently, he was fishing a contrast lure. So he was fishing a black and gold spinnerbait, and I was fishing a white and silver spinnerbait. So the bass were hitting mine, but they were eating his. They were smashing his. He had me 7 zip, and then I was just like, wow, I didn't really, follow color selection that much, but in certain situations, that's a really big deal. And on that particular occasion, that was huge because I didn't realize it played such a big factor, and that river round, it really showed me that it did. So, color selection is important sometimes.
Awesome. Thanks for the question, Bo. Neil's got a Kenya question in the grand scheme of things, not a fishing question, but he wants to know, with all the boats ended at Kenya, do you think it will affect how many fish are caught over the weekend on a small dam?
Yeah, most definitely. Yeah, pre-fish day guys will get caught up in, oh man, I caught them good everywhere when I caught them. Pressure on dams is bass are smart. They know when they're under pressure. There's going to be 38 high-powered boats on a dam that's normally quiet. Absolutely, 100%. I'll be very surprised. Traditionally, Coney will fish well, but we got a lower water level. We got 38 boats. I'm preparing myself for a really tough tournament, and traditionally, comps get hard on Sunday, and it's gonna be a tough one, and every bite will count. And the few guys that I've been coercing with, I know it's going to be a tough one. So that's what we're prepping for, and we'll have all those techniques, for situations like that ready to go. And yeah, we'll fish the way we have to catch them, but it's definitely going to get tough, 100%.
In a way, I am kind of glad that COVID's locked me down, because I wasn't really looking forward to going. Kenya is my favourite place in the world, but when the water's at 29% and dropping, and there was going to be a reasonably big field there, I was humming and hawing whether to drive that. It's nearly a 24-hour drive from here by the time you take fuel stops into consideration. And it was going to be a bit of a rush job, getting the time off work and everything else. It sort of now locked me in to say, hey, I can't go. Yes, I won't finish in the top 10 AOY this year now, because I'll have no chance with just the 3 comps. It's a double-edged sword, but, I'm kind of hoping the comp is really, really tough, because I'd hate you all to go out there and brain them after not being able to get there. All right, I'm just going back through seeing.
Mate,
Go on.
No, sorry. I think, just going back to the Cania comp, I think it's going to be a good comp, but yeah, I'm traditionally when you have that many boats on a quiet dam, it's going to be a hard one, but you never know.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun all the way.
Look, it's always fun. I mean, the guys are always good to be around and everything else. So, I mean, I enjoy that side of it 100%. But, long way to drive to Donut.
Yeah. Well, that would hurt, wouldn't it?
So I'm just looking through the questions.
You'd have to pull in. If you don't know the Coney, you'd have to pull into Aruma just to get some redemption.
Yeah, that'd be right. 100%. Paddy wants to know.
Someone just asked if it was Steve Turner. It wasn't Steve Turner.
Steve Turner. Paddy wants to know if he's still wet the bed and hope that issue is all sorted. Copy.
Sorted. Thanks for that, Paddy.
Trent, there's one.
You don't win a
missed this one earlier, so that's all right. This is a good one. How do you break down new waters?
Oh, that's a question. Oh gosh. I guess the biggest thing with this, obviously, we talk about time on the water and having your own strategies and that sort of stuff, but I've got my own strategy about how I go about breaking down a new waterway, and I utilise it. I think I utilised it really well at Blue Rock, but that never eventuated. But generally, I'll start shallow, no matter what time of year it is. I'll start very shallow, early in the morning. I'll fish, super shallow, and then you get a gauge quickly on what the fish are doing. When I guide, I know very quickly whether I'm going to get a bite or not, and fish will tell you straight away. Same like I was talking about the cod. If a cod wants to eat, he'll eat straight away. Same with bass. If they don't eat straight away, then they're probably, sometimes you can convince them to eat, but they'll give you clues on what to do. And usually, because there's thousands of bass in a dam, it generally doesn't take long for you to clue onto something. So I'll start shallow, throwing my favorite shallow baits. I've got, dozens of different ones. Same with you guys. Throw your confidence lures shallow, and then just gradually move out deeper and deeper as the day progresses. So I go on the theory of following the sun. So when the sun's close to the horizon, it's going to be dark, low light, fish shallow, because generally they're at their, they're most at their predatory behavior at that time. So they're going to be up shallow, looking for something to feed on, whether it's insects, small bait fish, things like that. As the sun starts to get up in the sky, say, 8 or 9 o'clock, that sun's up. You've got a bit of sun on the water. Start moving out a little bit deeper if you haven't got a bite up shallow. Because generally, like I was saying, you'll get a bite quickly if you're fishing somewhere. Normally, don't fish more than an hour on a particular depth. 8 or 9 o'clock, move out a little bit deeper. So go from 0 to 5 foot at daybreak. Then 8 or 9 o'clock, move out to 10, 5 to 10 feet or 5 to 15 feet. Fish that column of the water on the bottom, mid-column, that sort of stuff. And then as the sun gets up higher, you got to think to those fish, they'll be getting wary of predators because they're going to be wary of pelicans and fishermen and all that sort of stuff. So start looking in the deeper water. And, if you haven't had any success on, areas that are fairly deep and that sun's up, then start looking elsewhere. So start looking for structure or something that they'll hide on, particularly when that sun comes up. So, midday I'll generally look around trees or rocks or something like that, something that they can hold to. And that's the way I break it down anyway. Everyone's different. Everyone will develop their own routine, but that's what mine is. And generally I can break it down within the given time. You're never going to get it right 100% of the time, but as long as you can pattern onto something that you can work with or develop on over a tournament weekend, then, you know, follow your gut too is the biggest thing. And I always used to say that to you, Captain, was follow your gut. And the longer I fish now, the second I think of something. What's that?
I thought you were just picking on me because I'm fat.
No, but it's the second that I think of something now, if what I'm doing is not working, as soon as I think of it, I change instantly now, and there's no second thoughts. You just do it. So
yeah.
Anyway, that was a good question too.
Yeah, no, 100%. I've said it many times on the show. If you think about it, do it, because there's nothing worse than getting back to the weigh-in and the guy that wins it goes, oh, you know, I threw a purple on black spinnerbait, and you had one sort of tied on all day but didn't throw it. So 100% agree with that. Yeah. Go with your gut. All right. Listen, mate, we're probably going to pull it up there. I think that's enough. You'll get a sore voice, and I don't want you to get crook before you go up to Kenya, have a sore throat. People mightn't let you fish the comp. I'll let you scroll through and have a look for your 2 questions for your winner of your Garmin hat and sticker pack, which I do thank you for giving out on the show. As I said, next week we will be back into it again. I'm not 100% sure on which guest I'll have on next week. I've got a couple of people sort of lined up in the wind. Hopefully I can talk to maybe one of the winners of Kenya. Looking forward to the Masters, the Cod Masters down here at Eildon in a few weeks' time. If we do get let out of lockdown, I'm hoping that we can still gather in numbers and maybe have a comp. Where we're unsure on what's going on. The days will tell going forward. So for any West Coast Eagles supporters, I know Mark's out there, suck shit Essendon finally beat us. And as I said, it was finally, it's been a few years since I've been excited about me poor old Bombers. And not that we'll make the finals, I don't think, this year. But I'm really looking forward to the years to come. So have you had a chance to get through and find anyone there, Matty?
I'm just trying to find that last question. Who asked that last question?
Yeah, that was, let me go through, it was later in the piece. It was about the breaking down the dams.
Yeah.
Shane, yeah, my boat's in getting fixed at the moment too. My boat trailer, anyway. I've had some problems with the wheels scrubbing.
Trent Tulloch.
Yep, that was it.
Yep, Trent's definitely one. I like that question. The other one was where do I see the other one? Kyle
Hipsley.
Hipsley. Yeah. What's the biggest stuff up? That was a good memory, that one. So yeah, if those 2 boys can send me a PM.
Yep. So send it directly to your Matthew Langford fishing page.
Yeah. Yep. So go to Matthew Langford Australian Fishing and just send me a PM of your postal address, and I'll send you a Garmin cap and some VMC stickers.
Cool little pack. Well done.
Thanks
for donating that to us, Matty. That was awesome. I've already got a message from Warren, so I've got the tonic through. Tony Bundy won the postcode prize at 2819. If Tony hasn't sent me a message by tomorrow, I'll get a hold of him as well for his postcode prize. So that's about it. Just looking at those hat regulation size. Mark Monthly was waiting for it. I forgot that. I dropped my boat off at the yard today, gave him a bit of a reprieve. So that's the way it goes. Listen, guys, thanks everyone for getting on. Huge crowd on there tonight. Heaps of questions. Thanks, Matty, for giving up your time. I know you've been pretty chaotic, getting down to Mildura, having the trailer problems, getting back home, and then going up to Kenya this weekend. Your calendar's been pretty full, so to take some time out for us, we really appreciate that. Stay on the line. I'll cut it off here, and we shall talk offline. Thanks, mate.
My pleasure.